Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back and we're live with our Game 1 of Alliance versus Navi, a best of 3 for the G1 League Western Qualifiers. Winner of this best of 3 moves directly in to the winners bracket finals and is one more series win away from punching their ticket to the LAN finals in China. I'm LDFB on the summit. I'm joined by Luminous, and Lumi is an AP remake. The confusion has now been settled. Apparently Navi meant to pick Rubick instead of CK, so now their lineup makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, and it made a little bit more sense why Alliance was just not giving a damn in terms of their draft about what we thought about the very, very heavy HP lineup. And the Lina makes a lot more sense, and the Sven afterwards makes a little bit more sense as well. But the thing that we haven't had the chance to talk about because of the quick remake is the Faceless Void, and now we're seeing 3 ways that will go through BKB. And they're all kind of big AoE disruptions. Batrider Flaming Lasso isn't one, but of course, the way that he plays, he jumps in, and that's a disruption in itself. And I gotta worry for S4 and its friends down here, because that's a lot of AoE initiation, and I'm not too sure whether they could deal with all of that.
Now, that being said, I completely agree with you. One thing Alliance has going for them is their ability to spread the map and find pickoffs. With a Prophet for Bulldog, who will likely go for kind of that mid to late game build, often with the Midas, the things like Lothar's, an Orchid, and then of course the Wisp PK. Wisp Sven, they may be able to find some pickoffs there, and we'll see if Navi ever get those big team fights they're looking for where they can lock down the Sven with the Chrono and RP and so forth. But with that being said, on the dire side, we have Navi. Havos handling the Void has been pulled 2 sets of regen by his captain, Puppy. Dendy going to be going solo mid. He's been pulled as well. Puppy, as you might imagine, has pretty much nothing. He spent all his gold on consumables for his team and support items of that. Funnick going to be playing that off-lane Batrider, actually likely to start in the jungle. And last but not least, kuroky going to be handling his Rubick. And whenever you see kuroky on the Rubick, you expect big things.
You really do. He steals a bunch of spells, and then he kind of make you look silly with those same spells that he stole from you. So, meanwhile, on the Radiant side, Admiral Bulldog pulled 2 sets of Clarity, going to be going for the quick jungle. We've been seeing a little bit of deviation from the Prophet builds lately here. Instead of starting with the Ring of Poseidon, you start with a Glove of Haste. I'm not exactly sure which is faster, but hey, that's what he's going for. As for going the mid lane here, with Puck not pulled, I don't think, with the
no pull
with the items. Yeah. Meanwhile, Aki finds himself a Invis rune on Lina, so maybe we're going to see a quick level 1. I don't really think that's possible, but with the rotation from the Wisp, they're going to tether stun, LSA on top. We're going to see a nuke on top as well, but well, it looks like Dandy's going to secure back with the Ice Path, and the tower focusing on S4. A couple more right clicks going to do it. Where's the South? South's not going to do it. South also get canceled, and that's a first blood going in the way of Navi. A lot of gold being split up, and more importantly, he's down go for a teleport scroll and a salve. The early game can't start worse for S4.
Man, Puppy. Not only is he pulling his carries, 3 sets of regen, he's there with the Ice Path when Alliance goes for the tier 1 dive. And S4, I mean, to be totally honest, I just don't think they were ever going to get that kill. As long as Dendy hadn't already skilled Shockwave, that's just not going to happen. And maybe they were banking on him having skilled it, but in the end, he hadn't used the Shockwave. If anything, you assume he's holding a skill point, and well, they really overextend. They didn't bank on Puppy. That was the thing. And even if they didn't find the kill, I think they were okay with just putting a lot of pressure on Dendy, delaying his bottle. And unfortunately, because Puppy was there, it turns into a bit of a disaster. So I think did you finish introducing Alliance? We had a lot of action there.
Yeah, I think Loda was the last one not being mentioned. He was playing on the bot lane on Sven. I think if Puppy wasn't there, they get that kill. And that would have been a big swing coming on the other side. You don't bank on Puppy being there, and that's, I guess you could chalk it up to bad luck or Puppy's great play. In any case, though, what is certain is that Dendy is very, very ahead at this point. 95% of the time, that Shockwave is the first skill scaled up, and you can see that 5% of the time you win games off of it by, you know, making sure you get the skill that you necessarily need, which is the Skewer in that case.
Yeah, look, he's showing some real discipline there, not taking the skill early on. And ladies and gentlemen, I do want to point out that right now the Alliance is going for some Midas gaming. Bulldog sitting on a Gloves of Haste, rushing his own Midas, and I have a feeling for Loda, he's got the same thing up his sleeve, is he's already up to 1,400 gold. Nobody in the lane, so not obligated to spend his gold anyway, but I won't be surprised at all if they try and go double Midas here.
Yeah, and it looks like it so far. And I gotta say, if you're playing against this Navi team, it is a very, very greedy build. Because the Blink Dagger, once it comes, oh god, the gang train's gonna be on as well. But it feels like they're gonna be playing in a similar vein of Team Dignitas, where it says, all right, we probably maybe gonna get a little bit of greedy, but if it works out, it's so hard to lose simply because you have so much gold, so much more gold and experience compared to the enemy team.
And I won't be surprised if Havos goes for a Midas as well. We'll have to see what he spends his gold on, but free farming top as his Loda bottom, and Loda already picked up his Midas, so a very passive start for both teams. Aside from that early aggression, I mean, it's pretty much just been stacking and pulling and looking to maximize your jungle efficiency. And as far as that goes, for Funnick, he's playing a jungle Bat Rider. He's already stacked the big camp a lot. He's going to hit a very, very fast level 5, level 6. And at the rate he's going, looking at like a 10, 11-minute Blink Dagger, Tranquil Boots for him. And that's about as fast as you can get it.
Yep. Back in the melee, a ton of harass here. Despite being first blooded, as far keeping it real close in terms of CS, but the Bottle Crow of level 5 Magnus starting to really pull ahead. I don't imagine that S4 could make a comeback in this lane. And, well, they're going to try right now, and Dendy's going to get harassed. But again, Dendy, ever so vigilant. He's just actually sitting here. It's like, well, you know what? I don't need to do anything aside to make sure that Dendy is safe. If he's safe, we're going to win this mid-game.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that... I mean, S4, in my opinion, is actually losing the... Well, now he's caught up a little bit with the Wisp harassing, but he was sitting like 6-7 CS behind Dendy, and that's just Bottle Crow spam, and then, of course, Dendy already having access to level 3 Shockwaves, so great play from him, and for the moment, looks like about 1,000 gold lead for Navi, 750 at that, 750 experience, so a pretty slow start overall. The big thing for me, for Navi, is going to be Funnick on this jungle Bat Rider, completely unimpeded. He'll have his Blink and his level 6 long before we see the relocate online, so well, certainly before he'll have his level 6 way before, and he may even have the Blink before relocate is online. Egem looking to do a lot of, or EGM rather, looking to do a lot of stacking and pulling, so may be able to get it a bit sooner, but he is being forced to share that experience with Ake, something that isn't happening for the Bat Rider and isn't happening for kuroky. These two are just getting total free farm and levels because Puppy, he's parked mid.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that Spirits does a ton of damage when they do explode, once they time out. And you can see that he's looking to do a lot of stacking. Unfortunately, a lot of it are Mud Golems, and they are kind of immune to those Spirits. So look towards EGM, explode into levels, and look at this. Bulldog going to be farming the level 1 camp as well. So they're definitely very efficient in terms of sharing that jungle. And EGM's always looking way to help out S4. S4, by the way, almost hitting level 6. I just don't think you can kill Dendy with that, especially with Puppy sitting in mid like that. They're definitely making sure that Dendy is going to have a powerful mid game. He's already very far ahead. Arcane Boots is up very soon as well, so Dendy looking very poised. And I've been saying that S4 the best solo mid in Europe right now, and I think Dendy trying to claim back that title.
Well, he's currently winning mid. Got the kill mid and had a little help from Puppy, but so too did S4 have helped. 3 heroes to that middle lane for the early first blood attempt. And you look across Navi's team, and you have probably the better late game lineup. I mean, it's a little more global for Alliance, but in terms of raw fighting power and just raw hard carry ability, you have to give the nod to a Void with Empower if it goes late enough. And Havost is getting free farm on his Void, Funnick's getting free farm on his Bat Rider, and Dendy, not free farm, but doing about as well as you could expect mid for a Magnus. Already the Arcane Boots, the bottle online, and actually we'll see Puppy maybe getting caught, the Dream Coil deployed. This could be not our first blood, but our first kill for Alliance. Puppy, though, throwing out all his nukes. S4 will port forward, showing off the power of this combo, but he does get RP'd, and then Flame Break back into the tower. He will pop a haste turn, but lifted up by kuroky, thrown back down, and he will die, unable to escape from that one.
Yeah, early game being picked up. Funnick's gonna Firefly across, and he's gonna see very, very low mana hero on the Emerald Bulldog. Is gonna be chasing for a little bit more now. He's very far away from home and any assistance from his allies. But the big thing for me in that engagement is that Puck died and Magnus did not. So Magnus Arcane Boots up, and he's 15 now, what, 1400 away from his Blink Dagger, and Puck is nowhere close anything. He probably needs to even skip treads if he wants to be on par, and it's still 500-600 gold already behind Dendy. I gotta say, Dendy is already getting out of control.
Yeah, he really is, and here's the thing for the Alliance is, yes, they have a Wisp, they have a Sven combo with that Wisp, and you look to find kills in the mid game, but when you go in relocating knowing that there's going to be a Chronosphere to counter-initiate, a Rubick Lift, a great counter-initiation spell, and then a Lasso and an RP, so, and potentially an early Blink Dagger on both of those counter-initiators, the Magnus for Dendy, as well as the Funnick Bat Rider. So relocate ganks just aren't going to work if you do it straight up. I feel if you want to make those work, you have to find Navi out of position, realize that their TPs are down, bait them into using those TPs, and then you can go. But just going in head-on, that ain't going to work.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I almost think it's more successful if you use it as a counter ganking method. If, let's say, you know, Dendi jumps in and it gets a 2-man RP, that's when you actually kind of go and then counter initiate. But again, if you're counter initiating, you still have to deal with the chrono, you still have to deal with the backflaming lasso. It hasn't been used yet, and that's gonna be tough. Funnick picks up an Invis read. If he lassos Puck right now, he's gonna die one more time. RP's back up in 10 seconds. I think he should be patient and wait for the RP.
No, he's not gonna wait because S4 just walked a little bit too close. He gets lassoed. He gets blown up. We talked about the squishies onto the Alliance, so we see it there. The solo mid Puck is absolute food, and now it's Ake who gets caught. Spotted out by Funnick in Firefly, and now they're going to pick him off one by one. Navi is just ripping the Alliance apart, and this is where you have to say, what can a safe lane Sven really do against this? What can a Prophet really do against this? Sure, he could pop his ult. Maybe if a hero's isolated, he can teleport in and look to pick them off. But when they're all grouped up like that, you just don't walk into that many stuns, that much nuke power. All you could do is farm and try and take it later. And they are stacking the Ancients. They are looking for Loda to get a ton of golden experience off of those, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough the way this game is developing. Navi now up by 2,000 gold. They're slightly down on experience, but basically none. And Lumi, this is all happening without the Blink Daggers, and those Blink Daggers are coming very soon.
Yeah, I think if you're a Lions fan, you say that this is not the stage of the game that we're trying to make a stand in. We're gonna somewhat forgo the early game and play for a very powerful mid to late game. I saw Admiral Bulldog just now. He teleported literally from below the ledge to up the ledge to make sure he gets Ancient stack. That's eternal MVS in terms of how hardcore you want to make sure you get those stack. And yeah, it just goes to show that that's what they want to focus on. Make sure that they don't miss any gold, any GPM, and say, all right, man, I know we're having a tough early game, and I know the Blink Dagger is coming very soon. We gotta just tough it out and make sure, hopefully, we can win the mid game and late game later on.
Yeah, it's interesting because Navi, on paper, have the slightly harder late game carry in the Void, and even when you factor in things like Tether, I still think you drop a Chrono, that Sven will die if it goes late enough, and in spite of that, Havost, he's building the early game items, and then you look at Loda, who, arguably the Sven, the hero that starts a little bit stronger, and yes, you can hit one crit and wipe out the entire enemy team if you're EG at DreamHack, but that's very unreliable, not something you can count on, and he's the one who's angling more late game with the early Midas, so I think an interesting kind of juxtaposition of different item builds and as far as power curves go. We'll see how it all shakes out, and Kuroky's already level 6 too, so Navi, they're really finding levels on everyone aside from Puppey. He's quite far behind, but at the same time, I don't feel like there's much being asked of Puppey this game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Puppey, all his really want to do is drop a macro pyre. It looks like we're gonna see a ton of TP going against Loda. I'm not exactly sure what the hell they were expecting, but maybe they're gonna just straight up push the bot lane. I do want to actually comment a little bit here about this Maelstrom. Normally, I'm not a big fan of it. I say either go Mask of Madness.
This could be where you relocate. You just saw a couple heroes TP bottom. Maybe you go top.
Sure, that's definitely a possibility as well. Although you don't want to do it if you know that
well, not now. Denny has Blink.
Yeah, Denny has Blink and a teleport scroll. He's had that TP for a while. But yeah, it definitely was an opportunity when you see those TP scroll being fired off and not doing too much. I think they're thinking of it. They're walking into the jungle. They don't want to show themselves. And yeah, they're going to go right up on the top lane, I think.
Funnick's in trouble. Can he Firefly his way out of this one? The Stormbolt catches him in the ravine. Can they bring him down? They need 2 more right clicks. He will go down. No miss there on the final auto attack. A well-executed kill, and they'll go right back to the farming the bottom lane.
You see that Havost on the bot lane, dude. He's looking. Where the hell's that Wisp? Where the hell's that Sven? I know they parked it in the jungle to make that relocate. EGM, teleport back. Sven being left on the top lane.
Meanwhile, middle lane, Kuroky gets picked off. Dream Coil and Silence were used. So now relocates down, and the coil is down. And I think this is where Navi, they really want to pick a fight in the next minute if they can.
Yeah, I think Navi, they can always pick up fights because they have the multitude of big AoE ultimates. They're going to try to work on the bot tower, but as well as Aki working on that tier 1 tower, they're going to back off soon. Good thing that Funnick doesn't have the Blink Dagger just yet. Had a very, very powerful early game, but they picked off there, and that slowed his Blink. And I think dealing with Dendy's Blink is already hard enough. If you're dealing with a dual Blink, that is almost impossible in terms of finding enough farm to, or having the room to farm while dealing with the 2 blinks.
The Blink brothers on the move. Funnick doesn't have his yet, but if they find a nice fight here, he might just pick it up. Bottom lane, we'll see a teleport in. That's going to come from our Sven, but it's going to be, first of all, Ake, who gets caught out. Flame Break, Shockwaved, and then Dual Breath down into submission. An easy kill, and they have a lane ward, so they may look to dive this Dendi, fishing for an RP. Is he going to go? He wants to, Lumi. He's thinking about it. Where's that Blink? Blink! RP only catches Loda. A great phase shift by S4, but they're still going to pick Loda off, and S4 can do nothing but watch.
Looks like EGM looking in. The Chronosphere is going to find EGM by himself, and EGM's going to get picked off as well. S4, very cocky play in front of 4 Hero, is going to pick off a solo kill against Kuroky, but that to me is just stemming the bleeding because Navi just picked off your Sven, just picked off your Wisp, and really that's nothing much you can do. Admiral Bulldog has his Midas finish and should pick up his mech very soon right now.
I don't think it's a mech game. I mean, if I'm looking at this game, you have to get an early Scythe of Ice. You have to get either that or the Orchid, some sort of disable, some utility item. If you go for a mech, Navi has so much physical damage and so much stun that I think if you get caught, everybody dies regardless if the mech is there. We'll see. I mean, it's still a mech. It's still a good enough item that maybe he does go for it, but I feel the way this game is developing, it's more of a Shadow Blade, Orchid, or Scythe of Ice type of game, and the big thing there is his Midas was also on cooldown when he died, so that's a lot of economic damage on top of the death.
Yeah, it definitely hurts. It makes the Midas repay itself a lot slower, and that means he's going to be farming a lot less overall. I kind of personally favor the mech, and this real fast going back to the, as we see, Ancients. Big Ancient stack here from Loda.
Having DreamHack flashbacks.
Yeah, it really does. But I want to talk about this Maelstrom build on Havos. Normally you go something like a Battle Fury or a Midas or a Mask of Madness for paraphysical right click. I think this game he's going for Maelstrom simply because you're dealing with plus 21 armor in between Warcry and a mech armor bonus. That's a ton of armor to pierce through. So having a little bit of extra magical component to your right clicks is not that bad. So I think that's the primary reason why he's going for Maelstrom.
That's a great point, and in addition to that, it's just a very cost-effective damage item in general. So the combination of those two things makes it a great choice, and the Batrider Blink is coming very soon. So for Navi, they found a nice little engagement there. They go very back to farming, and you know, Lumi, we just haven't really seen the relocate ganks. Bulldog will go for, I think what's pretty much a signature build for him is this Orchid Shadowblade combo, or at least he'll start the Shadowblade. He often actually goes straight into the Scythe device and opts to skip the Orchid, and this may be a game to do it, because you're looking at Havos going straight into a BKB. I imagine Dendi will get one soon. Speaking of Dendi, hasted up, smoked up, heading towards the bottom lane, looking for Loda, looking for trouble. He's going to find him now. EGM has a Tether Stun available. We're just waiting patiently. Stun will be there on Dendi. Where's the backup for him? EGM, no Tether actually coming in. Now he'll Tether, he'll relocate him out, but they're going to bring the Wisp back, so Loda gets us a free trip to the fountain. EGM, not so lucky.
EGM's gonna try to tether his way out. The creep wave is coming, but I don't know,
Ain't
man.
gonna happen.
Yeah, it definitely isn't happening. But if you think about it, that's a 4-man gank for a Wisp at the end of the day. And it doesn't actually matter that much. In fact, they're going to try to bring down tier 1 mid. As for trying to actually get the hill, he's not going to get it. Meanwhile, though, Aki gets found by Havos, and that's going to be yet another kill. So
S4
is going to be used, and any support TP coming in, no. That's it.
You know, there's still an RP online. There's still a Batrider with now a Blink Dagger. Actually doesn't have mana for his last, so it is in the bottom lane, but they're a bit afraid to take these fights. Even when Dendi's really low, they don't go in, and you know, it's just the power of their lineup. And it was a great play by EGM to keep Loda alive, but at the end of the day, Navi, they defend their tier 1 mid in the end, and well, it does end up going down to the Radiant, but they get a kill in exchange. S4, he barely skated past that Chronosphere. He poured it out of his orb. Like, literally, it must have been like 50 to 100 units past the Chrono. If he had gotten caught in that, if his orb wasn't long enough to get him away safely, that's probably 2 heroes to go down. So, gotta say for S4, great individual plays by him to at least stem the bleeding of this game.
But here's the thing, though. Like, the scary thing is, if you look at the goal graph, Navi is completely dominating all of the map. They're getting kills, they're using the Chronos, they're using their RPs. They're down by 4,000 gold. And that just goes back to the double Midas, to the massive amount of Ancient as well as neutral stacking, as well as the unrelentless kind of tower trades. Yeah, you're going to take our hero up top, we're going to push down our tier 1. And that's the scary thing. Navi is winning every single engagement in the map, but they're losing by 4,000 gold.
Well, but are they really losing? Because Havos, once he gets a BKB, what does the Alliance actually do? to deal with that BKB. There's nothing. Sven cannot win a man fight with a Void when he's got RP, Lasso, Flame Break, Napalm, and Chronosphere and Bash all on his side. Sven can't win the man fight. Anyone else who gets caught is helpless. So I definitely agree with you. They're up statistically, and they're not out of the game by any means, but I feel like for Navi,
they're very much in the game.
The storm is coming. Once you get the BKB on Havos, you can just go fight, and I don't really see what the Alliance can actually do about it.
Yeah, Alliance have to do some insane damage control during fights. You know, they kind of have to go for smart pickoffs, smart trades. And I don't think, I agree with you, I don't think they heads up win engagements. They gotta basically come out economically ahead while losing engagement, which can be hard. Oh, S4 as well as Batrider fighting for this haste rune, and it's gonna get snagged up by the Batrider.
Yeah, great little play by Funnick, and for Navi, the one thing is we haven't really seen the full potential of their teamfight lineup. We haven't seen a big RP into a Chronosphere. We haven't seen a Void with a max in power at his side. It's only level 1 at this point, and we also haven't really seen the Batrider pickoffs available, and part of that is just credit to the Alliance not giving them nearly as many kills as what Navi were probably hoping for. And at the end of the day, Lumi, one of the reasons they're up in terms of gold is the fact that they have 3 towers. For Navi, they only have 1. But once the BKB is online for Havost, I imagine they'll quickly rectify that. He's got the BKB gold now, hasn't purchased it yet. He will do so, and they're going to take a tier 1 bottom. So part of the reason we're seeing that gold difference is simply towers. And I imagine with this BKB up, they'll be much more aggressive at taking those towers.
Yeah, also that was the second 4th stacked Ancients being claimed by Loda. So again, Aki or EGM so dutiful in terms of stacking that one up. And every time you get a 4-stack Ancients, that's an extra 1,000 gold on the carry. That's a tower worth of gold for a single player.
It's a pretty penny.
That's a sizable amount, and Loda needs to use his Midas, gonna pop it here on the bot lane. So Loda, in my opinion, the most farmed hero on the map right now, and the net worth definitely shows.
It's no matter of opinion, Lumi. He's up by he's 10.6k net worth. The numbers back you up on this.
In 20 minutes of gameplay, that's a ton of farm. But here comes the Roshan. And it is so damn hard to challenge this. Are they going to relocate in for this? I don't think it's possible.
A really well-placed relocate. If they get burst Havos down, could be disastrous if he can't actually get... Oh, man. Here comes S4. Everybody on the headlong retreat. That Dream Coil just caught 4, but Havos is actually going to drop a beautiful Chronosphere. Catches out Loda. Doesn't seem to matter. Actually setting up Aki for a nice little combo. Havos so low that maybe they can't take this fight. RP still online. Catches out 2, but Dendy's on the run. What a beautiful fight for the Alliance, set up by a 4-hero Chrono by S4 Dota. And now it's Funnick on the run with the Haster, and he even popped his lasso in the midst of that. Can they steal this Roche, Lumi? That's the question.
They will definitely steal the Roche. It's low enough. They don't have God Shrink, but they have a ton of right-click damage. And there's the overcharge on top from EGM. You talked about what would they do on BKB. Well, Loda has his own BKB. He's going to just tank it. You know, you sock me on the chin, I hit you back a lot harder. That's what Sven is all about.
Yeah, the Warcry makes him very resistant to that physical damage. The other thing is, they started that fight with Havost at about 300 HP, not a formula for winning the fight.
Yeah, and like I said, the Warcry plus 16 armor, I thought they needed the mech. You're probably right, they don't need it. Sure, right now Ammo Bulldog's not providing anything, but once he finishes the Scythe of Ice, well, he's going to be a lot more useful for the team as well.
This Alliance team is really a well-oiled machine. I'd actually love to go back and watch the replay and see how many Ancient stacks they've missed, because
I don't think they've missed any.
If they've missed any, it's only a handful. He's already cleared 2 full sets of stacks, and Bulldog's been farming the Ancients occasionally by himself, just a single stack, so it's really just using the map as effectively as possible. And one of the things the Alliance has been, I think, separating themselves from some of the other Western teams is not necessarily an individual skill or strategies even, although you've been impressed by their strategies, but I think they're just a lot more efficient than most other Western teams, and we're seeing that here.
I know a lot of people won't appreciate me for saying this, but it's like Eternal Envy training, man.
Funnick. All right, enough on that. It's gonna get caught out. Caught on, pulled into the ice path. Loda was playing Dota. Loda was playing Dota competitively when Envy was still in diapers. Don't give me that nonsense.
Yeah, no. Loda wasn't stacking when Envy was in diapers. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. Well, Merlini invented creep pulling, so there you go.
All right,
and Bulba invented Merlini. So Blake in. Dream Coil by S4 is gonna whiff.
Well, you could Dream Coil, but I'm the Batman, and I'd blink away. So, but yeah, judging how this game going right now, suddenly Sven has the Aegis. Who's ahead? I mean,
well,
Navi's still ahead, but I feel like no Tidehunter or Alliance, they're definitely in control of this game.
They are, but it's the kind of game where Navi can be down 10k gold, and I wouldn't count them out just because of their lineup. And I fully agree with you that it is the Alliance with the advantage right now. One of my concerns is that if the game goes late enough, I feel like EGM just melts, right? Eventually, the Wisp will die no matter what if he gets caught in a Chronosphere or an RP, and there's not some big counter initiate, and eventually Loda's BKB charges do get shorter. So for Alliance, they're ahead, but I don't feel like they're that close to winning the game just yet.
Yeah, they have the mid-game dominance, basically from Sven. If they want to reach late game and basically says we're still the stronger team, they need the Cypher Vice up on Nature's Prophet as well as Puck. Puck's having a tough game. He's 1-4-5. Never seen S4 actually have this horrible as a score because he generally dominate the laning stage and then he just goes completely off control. Not happening in this game, and that's why he's not very farmed. Nature's Prophet, does he have his Hex yet? No, he's close to it. He's about 700 go away, so I think once with a double Hex up, they can actually take this late, and suddenly Loda doesn't have to solo carry it. And in fact, I don't think he is even solo carrying it at this point. He is level 17, but again, you gotta thank his support as well as Admiral Bulldog for the multiple stacks of the Ancients as well as the Neutrals. So very well played so far from Alliance.
They call it Defense of the Ancients, and little did we know it actually refers to the neutral Ancients, not to the base. The Alliance did a fantastic job of defending theirs. They're gonna look to go on Havost here. Stormbolt comes in. He won't BKB. There was no relocate. EGM actually lurking, smoked up. You see this Sven Stormbolting your Void at the tier 2? There's 5 heroes top. Ain't no mistake about that. And or 4, but Prophet's always top because he could TP in at any time. And speaking of which, 3,000 gold. That Scythe Device is coming very quickly. And, you know, I was joking about there's no such thing as a quick Scythe Device, but this is about as quick as it gets, man. Boy. He's Shadowblade Midas treads and now looking at a Scythe Device, and they want to go, but they don't want to start off with Loda. He'll Stormbolt, and a Blink and a Coil catches out to Havost, drops a Chrono, but once again, he's too low to fight already. He's going to have to just back off here. He may try to fight Admiral Bulldog, but he's dropping low. He'll time walk away. He'll barely survive on the backlines. It's Puppy, who gets picked off. Here comes the relocate. Braining Loda, his special little friend. Down he will go. Havost picked off. Funnick on the run. The Alliance just doing work through the mid-game Lumi. They're taking a tier 2. They still have Aegis. Can they break the base right now?
Yes, they're gonna try. Sure, you have RP backup, but you really lack the damage. Flaming Lasso is down. 40 couple seconds here till Face This Void comes alive. And let me tell you, Sven does a ton of right-click damage, especially with Overcharge on top. To me, that was 16 armor of Warcry. That was Chronosphere, and Void, not only did he not right-click the Sven, he just hightail out of there, but there's no running from that Wisp. Looks like they're not going to be able to break that high ground. Maybe respecting the 3 or 4 man RP, but they're going to back off. Another huge win for Alliance. I mean, on paper, it looks almost impossible, but Alliance really doing it simply because they're out farming their enemies.
They're out farming them, and they're getting the better engagements as well. And a lot of that is just credit to S4, finding multiple heroes with his Blink, Silence, Coil combo. And even when he doesn't kill Havost, he nukes Havost before he gets the BKB off. And suddenly Havost, sitting even on agility treads, and sometimes starting the fights with like 900 HP, not having a full tank of gas to begin with, all of a sudden, there's barely any HP left, just 2 nukes. He's down to about 400, 500, and forced to run. And even if he BKBs and Chronos, maybe he kills 1 support, but he's also not finding the right heroes. He can't seem to find that Wisp. He can't seem to find Aki's Lita in these fights, and as a result, Chronosphere isn't amounting to much. The Magnus RP for Dendi, he could follow up, but it would just be a wasted RP, so instead he backs off the correct play. I feel like for Navi, if they get the right engagement, it would be a much different fight, but the Alliance just aren't letting them find that opening.
Yeah, it's hard to get the right engagement against S4's Puck because he's going to get 3 or 4 man coil on you. And the key thing is, if he pops Raining Rift on the Void, he's not going to do anything until he pops BKB. So, meanwhile, it looks like we're going to try to set up engagement here on Havost. If you scythe him up and the Wisp comes in with a Sven, that's free kill.
Here comes
Let's see if they're going to go for it.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to scythe him up, and the Storm Hammer on top. Havost just dies in one.
But they saw this relocate. They're waiting for them to come back. Havost, Funnick is here. There will at least be a Wisp dead. I don't know if no tidehunter realizes that there's a trap lurking. They're both coming back. They're coming into a trap, but who's actually the ones caught track? There's a 2-hero. Coil stun, and in the end, Denny gets off an RP, but Loda still at full HP. Bulldog as well. They don't even care. Navi, it looked like a nice little ambush, but the ambush has become an ambush for the Alliance. Oh man, that's
It's
a
a
gotcha.
reverse trap, and now Dendi is the only person making it out alive. And suddenly, the kill chart is favoring on the Radiant side. The gold chart is completely going out of control. This upward swing. And right now, I don't think Loda is even maxed out. One thing I do want to point out is, if you want to look at the level of the heroes, level 20 Sven, level 17 Admiral Bulldog, that's the power of Hanamites. When you use it enough time, you just get out of control. I gotta say, Alliance down by the hero kill for a very long amount of game, but they're still winning the gold, and the gold has really taken over.
And I love this item selection from Loda. He gets an Assault Caress. Void is going to do almost nothing in these fights. It's only going to be magical damage that can really bring the Sven low, and he's got 2300 health, and he's got a BKB, so you can't count on your magic damage. Your physical damage, good luck with that when Warcry gives you 16 bonus armor, and then you have another 5 from the Assault Caress, or another 10 from the item. I mean, when this Sven is fully loaded in terms of Warcry, at his plus armor from Assault Caress, we're looking at, what, an additional 31 armor to what he already has, which is 24? That's a lot of armor. Or sorry, no, it's 24 already with the plus 15. And I mean, it's like 40 armor that Loda's gonna have. That's so much damage reduction. You won't even dent him. You won't even scratch him, and you can't ignore him any longer.
Yeah, well, I don't think any longer. You can't ignore him already for a while. I want to say.
You really can't ignore him now, though.
Yeah, for me, you talked about the item choices for Loda. I want to look at the item choices on the EGM. Look at the amount of warding here on the mini map. It's pretty much sick. Like, you're not moving past the line without any sight being granted. And of course, there's a gem on EGM, so the D ward's gonna happen. Navi's not gonna play without any sight. Alliance sees you anywhere you go. So the map control totally in the favor of Alliance. And one thing that's, again, to me, that's the most impressive thing. I counted basically 2 true relocate ganks. It was one on the Batrider up top very early on, and then one on the bot lane when they just siped the Void and got a kill on him.
Yeah.
That's the only 2 ganks. They've mostly been using relocate as a counter ganking, counter initiation method. And to me, I think that's a true way to play Wisp. Make sure that he's always... Relocate gank just doesn't work against good teams. And that's why he's not he really picked up in Chinese games, but I think this is a true way to play.
Here comes the push top lane. Loda gonna cleave his way through that tower. There is no glyph. They're not gonna commit fully. Bottom lane, Navi will be forced back by just a slight little bit of a poke and...
Oh, Scythe. Anybody? Oh, good TPs in the trees.
Oh, Bulldog not able to find them. Drops the Sprout. Was trying to figure out... It's like, there's no Scythe device top, but indeed, they were hunting bottom and Navi. They all get away, but I do feel like this next Roche attempt should be the Alliances for the taking. They have the Scythe device from Bulldog. They have a Sven who just simply won't die, and the beauty is Sven, I mean...
Wisp is dead top.
Well, did she relocate there?
Yeah, he relocated out to save the Sven.
Okay.
And the cool thing was that he knew that he was going to die, so he dropped the gem on the ground. And then he's like, sayonara, friends. But they kept the gem.
I saw the gem on the ground. I didn't realize he'd come from a relocate, so... My bad, guys. My bad. But in the end, they do end up saving the gem, and a death for... The thing is, for EGM, he's very squishy, but just not getting caught this game. And I mean, it doesn't really matter what items he has if nobody's focusing him.
Yeah, that's the difference when you are relocating in the starting of the fight or during the middle of the fight, because if you relocate during the middle of the fight, it is so hectic, and it's going to be so hard to focus you because Sven is actually the one that's, you know, garnering all the attention. Right now, the Roshan is back and alive, and I'm sure Navi will want to have it, but I don't know. Like, all Alliance have to do is wait for them to start the Roshan for, I want to say, 10-15 seconds, and then you just charge in and man up, and I'm not too sure whether they could win this. As long as they don't get 3-man RP'd or 3-man Dream Cold, or not Dream Cold, Chronosphere, they should be fine.
This is great from Navi. They're gonna, S4 is gonna reveal them all in the trees, and then Orbs to the high ground. Smoke gank is over, and I don't think Navi even saw what happened because it's nighttime, and they probably didn't even have vision of him at that, so Smoke gank wasted. And Alliance, they continue to farm, they continue to pressure. And this is where Bulldog, he stretched his legs, now he starts to go for a walk. The pressure amps up, and it's gonna be hard to Roche when you have to worry about this Prophet.
Yep, that's going to force a single teleportation back from Havok.
And it's going to be hard to defend. When you send one in to deal with the Prophet, suddenly Bulldog comes in with the relocate gank, and you lose multiple heroes.
Yep. Oh, man. They just need to siphon him up. And
Can they find this kill? A Scythe, and Havost is going to be dead. And because he bought this Eagle Horn, I don't think he'll have buyback. Actually, he will. But he is going to die here. He can buy back. He'll have to do it immediately. Now S4 diving in with an orb, looking for Funnick. Do they back off? I think they do.
Just so smart. Nobody overcommits. Nobody makes a wrong move. And now Funnick thinks, but he's going to get blown up. Havost going to get... Oh, no! The Flame Break bursts him back out. Havost is going to get stunned up. He's treed up as well. And now the right-click BKB war. Crits, right-click. There's the two-man RP.
He's not even scratched. He's not taking damage.
Luminous says, all right, guys, come on. Or is that all you got? Yeah.
Give me some more, baby. Relocating towards the base. They want Havost. They're going to find him. They're camping Navi in the shadow of their fountain. They want Puppey. Puppey will fall. GG. Navi taps out. 33 minutes. Alliance making a statement in our opening game of play here for Navi versus Alliance. Your second winners bracket semifinal match. Lumi, domination. And this is after they fail the first blood attempt, after they give away a first blood to Navi. Puppey in the perfect place to prevent that aggression. And that was like the one moment this game where you looked at Navi's play and said, man, they're really in control of this game. I feel like from there, it was just all Alliance the rest of the way. And looking at the graph, that's pretty much the story of this game.
Move over, guys. Alliance, the best European team. And they're making that strong statement, like you said. They were up by 5-6 kills, they being Navi, but the goal graph just shows how Alliance farm, how Alliance rise. Damage control was just absolutely spectacular. And game 1 goes to Alliance. This gotta be one of the most well-played game in Dota 2 I've ever witnessed. I am thoroughly impressed.
And it's coming, of course, from a team that's been on top of the European scene for some time. Navi, they've got the big names, but they haven't had that consistent success. They did win Raid Call EMS, and that was a place where the Alliance struggled, but they have really bounced back, and they look rejuvenated. They want to advance into the G1 League LAN Finals, and right now, they're making their case that they deserve to be there. But the good news for the Navi fans, it's a best of 3. It ain't over until the fat lady sings. She hasn't sung just yet, but Navi, going into game 2, will be trailing in the best of 3, 0-1. I'm LD, he's Luminous, we're both up beyond the summit. Stay tuned, guys. We've got a game 2 coming up. Can Navi bounce back, or will the Alliance take it in a clean 2-0 sweep? We'll find out after this.